Until now, we have been talking about SharePoint search and search in SharePoint Online in Office 365 in parallel so far. But now I think it's time to focus on Office 365 only this time, because it has a lot of features that on-premises SharePoint does not have, and also that you can get the benefit from if you implement a hybrid search environment. And I think it is important to talk about those features because they drive a lot of confusion as well, besides being super useful. But if you understand how they work and which one to use when, I think it is really useful, and you can educate your users as well to use each feature the right way at the right time. So now I'm going to switch my environment, and you can see that here is the SharePoint Enterprise Search Center that we set up earlier during this course. We have created our own display templates for the results. We have created our own display templates for the refiners. We also have created our query rules to display promoted results, highlight boosted results, and also to modify the query itself. But it's not everything that we can do. This is how enterprise search works, both in on-premises and in SharePoint Online. But basically, this is not everything. If you go to the SharePoint Home, in the new modern experience of SharePoint Home, you also have a search box on the top left corner. And as soon as you click into this search box, you get recommendations. And basically those recommendations, and from this point, every recommendation, everything you get here is personalized. Everything here is recommended for you based on your previous activities, your previous content you have created, you have contributed to. And if you have a colleague who comes to the same page and opens the same search box, might have different recommendations here. Why? Because those recommendations are personalized. If I start searching my common search term like marketing here, I also get recommendations which are responses, which are results to my query, but still those recommendations are personalized. Those recommendations are targeted to address to me. And we are going to talk about how it works, but what you have to understand is that everything here is a recommendation, is a suggestion to you. So don't be surprised if someone else gets different suggestions here. If you click on the show more results, it drives you to the modern results page where you can see sites, people, and files. Once again, suggested and recommended to you based on the Office graph. I'm going to talk about the graph later. But if it's not what you are looking for and you want to go back to the classic enterprise search, you just click here and you get redirected to the default enterprise search center. I'd like to emphasize that you are going to get redirected to the default enterprise search center because we have created our own previously, but if you don't change the default setting, you get redirected to somewhere else. So when you create your own, please don't forget to change the default setting and use that one as the default one if you want your users to get redirected from even from the modern search experiences there. So here it is, I've got redirected to the Enterprise Search Center, but it was a consequence of my actions on the modern user interface. First, I've got the recommendations. Second, I started to type in my query. I've got further suggestions. And when I didn't find what I was looking for, I proactively decided to come to the Enterprise Search Center, and from now I can use the refiners, I can use the custom display templates, etc., etc. We have another experience in Office 365 which is called Delve, and also Delve is supported by the Office Graph. In Delve, I can discover content that I have access to based on different criteria, based on people who have created those content, based on boards, based on my interests, based on my previous activities, etc., etc. So those are the content that are recommended to me. Delve also has a search box here, and if you start typing in your query here, you also get suggestions and recommendations, but different recommendations than you've got in the SharePoint home. This set of recommendations is different because you are in Delve, therefore the context is different. So not only you and your person and your previous activities and relationships are considered when you get those suggestions, but also the context of where you are. If you are in SharePoint home, you get people, sites, and documents recommendations. If you are in Dev, you get documents and boards. And it's true all across Office 365. Wherever you are on the modern experience, if you use search, if you use the modern search, you get targeted, personalized suggestions based on who you are and also based on where you are, based on your person and based on the context of where you are. How is it possible, you might ask? And this is where I have to explain the Office Graph and Microsoft Graph to you. Microsoft Graph is basically the API layer on the top of Office Graph, and what you have to know about it, that it is a classic graph that you used to study in the school. So it has nodes, and between the nodes it has edges to represent relationships. Each node is either a person or a document or an item like a task or a message, an email, or a file somewhere in Office 365. And the relationships can be many types. Like you can work with someone, you can report to someone, a document can be created by someone, it can be modified by someone, etc., etc. The most important thing is that whenever you do something in Office 365, this action gets stored in the graph, and from this point, from those actions being stored in the graph, this graph is growing and growing and growing continuously and collecting information about you, about your colleagues, about your content and everything in your Office 365 tenant. And since it has more and more information, it can provide more and more and better suggestions. How it works: whenever you log in and whenever you go to a user interface like Dev or the modern search UI or similar modern experiences in Office 365, you are considered to be the center of the graph, and everything around you is going to be suggested to you. And whenever you enter your query, those items, documents, people, emails, etc., etc., will be filtered based on your query, but still only the content that is around you, the closer a document or a person is to you in the graph, the higher position it will have in the suggestions list. So whenever you go to a modern search experience, the order of the results is not based on the classic search ranking model, but it is based on the graph ranking model. And in the graph ranking model, the distance between you and the document is the most important thing. So whenever you go to a modern search experience or dev or any application that is supported by the graph, you get suggestions based on what is close to you in the graph. So therefore, we have to compare the classic search experience and the modern search experience in Office 365. So basically, when we talk about the classic search in Office 365, it is based on the search index. And we do have full control on the searchable content. We can include content, we can exclude content, we can define what should be stored in the search index. We also have control over the ranking. We can create our own custom ranking model, and we can create query rules to modify the ordering of the items, etc., etc. So we can control what is displayed and how everything is displayed. And therefore, we are in a controlled environment, and our users in an environment that is controlled by us. And also, we can customize the user interface. Do you remember to the custom display templates, the refiners, the item counts on the refiners, etc., etc.? Everything can be controlled by you. But in the classic search experience, we don't have Office Graph support. Therefore, we cannot rely on the information that is stored in the graph. On the other hand, we do have a modern search experience. The modern search experience is based on the graph, and with that based on the graph ranking and not on the classic search in ranking. It is personalized. As I said, whenever you log in, you are considered to be the center of the graph, and in that perspective, you are the most important thing. Therefore, everything that is close to you will be displayed and will be suggested to you. Everything is personalized. If your colleague logs in, he or she is the most important one, and he or she is considered to be the center of the graph. So please consider it when you compare those suggestions. They will be definitely different. We have only a minimum control on the searchable content. We can exclude content for not being in the graph, or as users we can decide not getting suggestions, but in this case we are not even getting the benefits of everything. And last but not least, there is no UI customization available at this moment on the modern search experience, so we cannot customize how it looks like, what it displays, because everything is based on the graph, everything is personalized, but it's no customization in this case. So if I want to put on one word on each experience, what I could tell you is that in the case of classic search, what we do is search, as we know and as we have been knowing this for 10 years. In case of modern experience, what we talk about is discovery of content. We can discover content not really proactively, or not only proactively. You can also discover content you don't even know exists, right? So you get suggestions, therefore you might get suggestions that you don't really expect. It is really important to understand that this engine, the Office Graph, is only available in Office 365, so don't try to install it in SharePoint on-premises because it's not possible. It is in Office 365. What you can do if you have an on-premises environment but you want to get the benefits of Office Graph and Dev and modern search experiences and everything like that, is to implement hybrid search in your environment. With hybrid search, what we can do is in on-premises, we set up a cloud SSA, a cloud search service application. And this cloud search service application, as I said, it is deployed on-premises. Therefore, it can crawl items that are being stored on-premises. But it sends everything to the cloud index in Office 365. So with this step, your on-prem content will be crawled and will be sent to get processed and stored in the cloud search index. From this point, since you have those items indexed in the cloud, you can use cloud search, you can display them in Office 365 search, and also you can have them stored in the graph. Therefore, you can get the benefits of the Office Graph, like being able to find those items in Delve. It is very important that everything is security trimmed. That means there is no way to find any content that you don't have permission to, even with Dev or any kind of user experience, any kind of modern user experience. So the same way as in the classic search, what you have permission to, you will be able to find, you will be able to discover, but nothing else. So don't worry about security in this case, because your users cannot find anything that they don't have permission to. This is what I wanted to show you in this video, and I really want to encourage you to read the written materials of this topic as well, because you will find some very important information and also very useful resources there. Thank you.